through our generations,
we are slowly losing the world we know. Now this can be caused by carelessness, lack of knowledge on the subject. All of this ourselves can cause different climate changes. Now, for an example, we have Venice, Italy. Now this is St. Mark's Square, a lot of people here. This picture was taken in 2018. That's almost 2 years ago now. Here it is now. This is St. Mark's Square, same place. A lot less tourists. Obviously, if you can tell, there's water everywhere. This is the worst flooding they've had in 50 years. And this is just one of the many examples of climate change in our world today. The Venice government held a meeting to talk about how they should combat climate change. Now, the idea was put down, and ironically, about a couple minutes after it was shut down, the building literally started flooding. Now, I'm not superstitious, but that may be a sign of karma. A lot more is changing around us than just our world. Animals are changing, being affected all the time now. This can change our food production, pollination, things like that. All of it is being affected by climate change. Now, it's a very small change over the years, but studies have shown that it is happening. Birds are shrinking. Yes, they are. Bigger birds are seen in colder temperatures, to stay warm, of course. And since those colder temperatures are warming up, birds need a way to cool down. So, an example of a lot of different types of birds being studied on. I want you to picture this. So, you're walking home and it's cold outside. You have a lot of clothes on. So you get inside and it starts to get hot. So you take off a layer or two. This is basically what's happening with the birds. Now, except they're physically doing it to their bodies rather than taking off a few articles of clothing. So it's a big difference. Another animal being affected by climate change is very well known for it, the polar bear. Now, polar bears, they live in cold climate, but since a lot of this cold climate is warming up, they're losing habitats and they're losing a lot of their homes and foods and things like that because they simply cannot live there anymore. So they have been moving around, and recently in the news, it has been found that about 60 polar bears have invaded a little village in Russia. Now, this is the village of Raikipi. It's in northern Russia. It's a village of about 600 people, and it's very eye-opening because it's surprising. You never see polar bears really invade a town very often. It's just a big issue that we have come to notice because there's a lot of climate change happening, which is creating a lot less habitats for animals. This is a big problem. Now let's get back into how the world is changing. Now, climate change and global warming, they're both catching up to us. 2019 is said to end the hottest decade on record. 2019 and 2017 tie for the hottest years on record. Now, the UN Secretary General has said that the point of return is no longer over the horizon. And sadly, that's true, because all of this leads to natural disasters, which include casualties and things like that. examples of this are flooding, like we saw earlier in Venice, wildfires, like what we see now in the Amazon, and hurricanes, like we see basically every year around Florida, such as Dorian and Harvey. All these are very disrupting, and it's very difficult to see on the news. Now, a little bit about myself. Over the summer, I work at a marina called the Duncan Bay Boat Club. We monitor a lot of water levels as well as other work that we do. So this year, it was a very drastic change from last year. Water levels have risen 6 inches just over this year. And it really shocked us because we've never seen anything like that, and we had to move a lot of docks to make it level with everything. So think about it. How many gallons do you think 6 inches is around the entire Great Lakes? Now, it's definitely a lot. 2.335 trillion gallons of water. That's a lot of water. So, a little bit about that. My coworker and I had a conversation with an older lady around her maybe mid-60s. Now, we mentioned that it might be climate change happening, which it definitely is. And she started to disagree with us. She ended up mentioning that climate change doesn't exist and it never did. It's a bunch of bogus. And my coworker and I, me being 18 and him being in his early 20s, were taken aback by it because our generation is the generation that must work to do better for our world. And it's sad to think that people don't believe it. People don't think that climate change is out there and climate change actually happens. But they do, and it's got to change because really thinking about it, it's their world too, and if they're not going to do anything about it, we're really not going to get anywhere anytime soon. Relating to that, a recent poll by the Post-Kaiser Family Foundation has found that compared to teens and adults on how they feel about climate change, there's a big difference. From teens 13 to 17, 86% say that they believe we are causing climate change. 29% feel optimistic for the future. 11% feel that it's too late to prevent it. 74% think the US government isn't taking enough action. Now, the same poll for adults 18 and up, 79% say that they believe that we cause climate change. 25% feel optimistic. 15% feel that it's too late to prevent it. 67% think the US government isn't taking enough action. If you paid attention to those results, it's shown that teenagers are more concerned nowadays, more knowledgeable maybe, and care more for our future because it's our future. Adults didn't learn as much as we did in school about the climate and how things are changing. They did learn it, but not as much as we do nowadays, because nowadays it's more framed, and it needs to be put out there that everyone, not just this generation, should put in effort to help change our environment and our planet. If you don't believe me, I only have one thing to say. Okay, Boomer. Here's my source.